Hi everyone, and thank you for coming to today's webinar, Bing Ads Tips from the Source. I'm Anna Sawyer from Trada, and in just a moment I will be introducing everyone who will be on the call. Just to kick off with a few items that you would all like to know. First of all, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please type them directly into the chat box. We will get to as many of your questions as we can at the end. We love answering personal questions, so please feel free to get as in-depth as you possibly can. Next, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll receive a follow-up email with all of the slides and the webinar recording. So if you happen to have your audio cut out or miss anything, don't worry about it. We will have a recording to send to you soon. So I will go ahead and kick this off. It's my pleasure to introduce Paul Corkery. He is the Senior Operations Program Manager of SMB Search Platform and Tools at Microsoft, which sounds like a mouthful, and I would love to have Paul explain what that means and talk a little bit about your history at Microsoft and why you're on the webinar today.
Thanks, Anna. It's great to be here, and hello, everyone. It's really a pleasure. My name is Paul Corkery, and as Anna mentioned, I'm a Senior Operations Program Manager here at Microsoft, specifically focused on the search platform and tools for SMB advertisers. So what does that really mean? Well, I started at Microsoft about 7.5 years ago, and I've been working on the paid search space at Microsoft for that entire time. So if anyone remembers a product called Ad Center, we launched it way back 7.5 years ago when I started my job, and we've brought it now forward to be the Bing Ads product you may know today. So I've been with the paid search area of Microsoft for a long, long time. In the beginning part of that, I spent time managing large advertisers in all different sectors. So I managed some retail customers you may have heard of, like Amazon, some lead gen advertisers and other advertisers like Edmunds Automotive and Auto by Tel, as well as some interesting financial services companies like Esurance and other insurance agencies. So I have a lot of experience doing the account management work, optimizing accounts, helping advertisers maximize their yield from Bing. And then in my more recent career, my job is primarily focused on understanding what it is that small and medium businesses or large businesses require of the Bing Ads product. So I spend most of my time working with the product engineers who build Bing Ads to prioritize the right set of features that are going to give you guys the right sets of capabilities, tools, and controls that advertisers need to be successful on the Yahoo Bing network and really tap into our vast audience. So that is my current focus, and I'm really excited to be here to share a little bit about what we've been working on and perhaps provide some tips and tricks about how to maximize effectiveness on Yahoo Bing.
Well, Paul, we are so lucky to have you here today, and everyone, one of the reasons that we were really hoping that we could get Paul on this webinar is that he is very hands-on, very technical, really understands how everything actually works. He's not here to sell Bing, he's here to tell us how to really maximize it. So very, very lucky to have him. So thanks for being here, Paul.
Thank you.
Moving on, I will introduce someone who, if you have ever been on a Trada webinar, you may have already met. This is Matt Hessler. Matt Hessler is our Director of Account Management here at Trada. He's been working in PPC and SEO since back when it was a completely different thing.
Yes, the old Overture days. I've been in search a long time. I always enjoy these webinars. I think my function today is be a little bit of peanut gallery and get to hear all these fun things that Paul's talking about, talk about some of the ways that we've used Bing at Trada to kind of complement that stuff, and we're really excited. We do quite a bit with Bing, and I think it's underutilized across the whole search marketplace, so it should be a fun webinar.
Yep, and I'm Anna Sawyer. I'll be moderating the call and hopefully asking some questions. I am the person who runs webinars here at Trada, and I like to call myself a digital marketing educator. But really, I'm just a digital marketing learner.
Oh.
So before we get started, I'd love to do a poll with some of our participants today. I'm interested in learning a little bit about how you all run your PPC solution. So I think you can see the results start to trickle in, but if you wouldn't mind just clicking directly on your screen and letting me know, are you a business owner who runs PPC yourself? Do you have an in-house team? Do you work with a consultant or agency? Or do any of you happen to use a bidding platform tool? And a little bit later, we'll talk about the types of companies companies that we believe come to these webinars, and we're always hoping to learn more about who you guys are so that we can make sure that we give you just the right targeted content to make you as successful as possible in paid search. So I'm skipping to the results here, and I see that the vast majority of you are running PPC yourself or working with an in-house team. So that's great, and we hope we can give you some really actionable tools today, ways that you can really increase your profitability by understanding how Bing works a little bit better. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next screen, although it looks like a few of you are still filling out the survey. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move right along. So here at Trada, we feel like we're really qualified to talk about paid search because we know PPC. We run the world's only community-based, performance-based paid search marketplace. What that means is that when we partner with you, you set a CPA goal. We assign a team of highly specialized paid search experts to work on your campaign. They do work remotely. They are extremely well certified, and they go through a progressive access to work in our system. Therefore, they're really the right people to work on your campaign. And then your expert team collaborates to beat those goals. So this is just a little bit about how Trada works, so you understand kind of where we're coming from. We call these paid search experts optimizers, and your company and the optimizers are supported by this massive algorithmic marketplace where everything works together. So it's not a total free-for-all, and there's this great goal alignment that comes along with having the people who do the work for you on campaigns actually motivated to beat your goals. We have been featured in the New York Times, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal. We have hundreds of happy customers. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about Trada, we'll talk to you a little bit about it at the end. But please go ahead and type into the chat box if you'd like to learn more about Trada. But what I really want to start talking about is Bing. So if you happen to learn anything interesting from Paul or from Matt or myself today, please go ahead and tweet using the Trada Bing hashtag, and one of you will win an Amazon.com gift card. So just as a reminder, please enter your questions into the chat box. We'll get to as many as we can at the end, and we will send out a recording and a link to the slides after the webinar.
Yeah, the questions are always great. I know everyone says that on every webinar, but that's the way you can get the most value out of this. If you're a current Bing practitioner, this is a great chance to pick Paul's brain and get an answer to a specific question. So definitely want to facilitate that dialogue. So questions.
And we try to leave as much time as possible for questions at the end, and sometimes we even go crazy and go over the time because there are so many questions. So you never know. So I really like this concept that I've been talking a lot about with the Microsoft team, that if your AdWords campaign is doing really well, including Bing and really spending time making Bing successful is really the only way at this point for you to optimize for volume and conversions. And I'd love to have Paul talk a little bit about some of these relatively or extremely compelling data points about why Bing is so important.
Yeah, thanks. So one of the things we talked about, Anna, when we were kind of gearing up for this webinar is really how if you have a really dialed-in AdWords campaign, and someone came to you and said, I could increase your results by 30% or about 30%, you'd probably be pretty ecstatic with that. And that's roughly what Bing represents in terms of the total number of searches being conducted in the US today. About 29% or just shy of 30% of all searches being conducted in the US today are happening on the Yahoo Bing network. That's the Bing search portal as well as all the Yahoo search portals that we power. And there's a few things that make the audience you capture there really unique and compelling. And I'll go through a couple of these. I'm not a slide reader, so I'll try to be diligent about that. But something to consider is the buying power of our audience versus the average Internet user. We have about 4% higher incomes for folks who search on Yahoo Bing, which is very compelling to you as an advertiser to try to find people with higher levels of income that may be able to spend money on more goods. The other thing we find is that about 3.6% is the amount that searchers on Bing tend to spend higher than they do on Google. So we hear this not just in the statistics which are provided here by ComScore, but also from advertisers I talk to all the time. A lot of advertisers tell me that their conversion rate or their ability to turn clicks into customers on Bing is much higher than it is on AdWords. And one of the other things that makes that even that much more compelling is that I will say not in all cases, but in a lot of cases, the clicks people are buying from Bing tend to be less expensive than those on the more highly competitive AdWords network. So while we do have a great network for advertisers, the pricing on some of our clicks actually tend to be lower, which makes ROI that much better. And one other statistic on here that I'll mention is this 51 million number. This is actually a number that represents the total number of unique searchers in the US who you actually can't get to from Google's search network. So when you think about that, that's really a whole set of customers in the US that we know are using Bing and Bing-powered searches exclusively for their search. And so you're really missing out on not just that 30%, but also this 51 million unique searchers who are using our products as an exclusive search product. So just some numbers to really talk a little bit about how highly performant our audience is, as well as why this needs to be a critical part of your search campaigns.
And one of the things that we always say when we talk about Bing is that we're going to make the assumption today that most of you are probably running on Bing and give you some tips for really making it as powerful as possible. But if you're not running on Bing, there are 30% of your potential customers out there who are searching for you, and they're not finding you because your ads aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, the percentage is compelling. 51 million people, it's a huge audience to kind of expand your reach into that unique audience. So I think being on Bing is pretty important.
Yeah, and here's a sample scenario that you all can take a look at where we have a woman who is running marketing for an e-commerce company, and her typical strategy is to sort of run on Google and maybe Facebook ads. But if she doesn't include Bing ads in her acquisition strategy, she's missing 2 out of every 10 searchers, and those 2 customers are likely to spend 20% more than the other 8 customers. I mean, that's a compelling and somewhat sad story for poor Meg here, who's running the e-commerce company. So, one of the biggest concerns when it comes to running Bing is that because Bing makes up, call it approximately 30% of the market, you as an advertiser may be unable to drive as much volume as you need from Bing alone. So, of course, we suggest that you use Bing as sort of part of your overall strategy. We'll talk a little bit about how you can maximize your overall budget, and if you consider your paid search budget to include both ad networks and think of them a little bit more cohesively, you can be smart about maximizing for volume and conversion price. As Paul mentioned, clicks can very often be a lot cheaper on Bing, and so you can often drive much cheaper conversions on Bing. And so kind of considering Bing to be your primary source of the lowest cost conversions, and then making up that volume on the other networks. Matt, do you have anything to add here about this concept of considering your budget over both networks?
Yeah, no, it's all a budget allocation thing where you need to test both, and maybe you start with a certain split, and then you really want to look at conversion rates. We find one of the great things about working at Trada, supporting several hundred advertisers, is that you just see that there's different verticals that tend to perform better on one engine or the other, and you want to be able to really tailor your spend to maximize your ROI. I know as a marketer, having worked with small businesses up to huge businesses, almost every marketer has a budget, and you might as well figure out how to get the most bang for the buck. I mean, if you've got unlimited budget, then great, push hard on all networks, but otherwise figure out where your returns are. And a lot of times you might find you favor Bing and squeeze as much out of Bing as you can and leave what's left for Google.
And keeping in mind that the market overall is dynamic, this is something that we recommend you take a look at relatively frequently. Trada does this automatically. We do have a budget split algorithm that shifts budget opportunistically. So we take a look at this approximately every 14 days. It happens automatically. We try and optimize for both conversion volume and conversion price. And Bing actually published a case study about this budget split algorithm, which is something that is relatively unique in the marketplace.
Yeah, I was lucky to be part of the team that helped to build this, and it's cool. You look at conversion rate, you look at, as Paul mentioned, the lower cost per clicks that sometimes you can achieve on Bing, and then what's the overall volume, and find that balance point that's going to help you to really maximize the dollars that you're spending.
So let's talk about a number of tools that Bing provides that really allow you to get your campaign just running and humming at maximum potential. So Paul, would you take a moment to talk a little bit about how Bing's quality score works? And I will start by saying I think the most interesting thing about Bing's quality score is that it shares this actionable competitive data.
Yeah, thanks. So I want to tee this up a little bit by saying that while we do have that 29% search share, we do know that advertisers, generally speaking in terms of paid search share, we're not quite there. And so Bing Ads quality score is one of a number of ways that Bing Ads is trying to empower our advertiser users to be able to know how they can tap into as much of our volume, extract as much value from Bing as possible. And so the way that our quality score works is that we've presented quality score at the keyword, match type, ad group, campaign, and account levels. And the way that works is we have on a 1 to 10 scale, very similar to what you may have seen on AdWords. Now, an important facet of how our quality score works is that it's not designed, there is no algorithm that says, this times this quality score number then equals your ranking. Quality score is meant to be a representation of all the factors in the algorithm which affect your ranking that are not bid. So if you think about it, there's a lot of things we look at, and a lot of them are represented by the subscores here. And so the subscores include things like landing page user experience and landing page relevance. User experience is mostly a check to make sure that you're the kind of quality site that we want to have promoted on Bing. We try to eliminate sites that do nefarious things such as gather private information from searchers and without telling them how it's going to be used, things like that. So there's policy reasons that we want to have a category there. And then in the case of landing page relevance, what we're really looking at is saying of all the queries that your keyword is serving to, how relevant are those queries to the content that's presented on your landing page? Now this has a possible score of no problem or poor. If you have no problem, then what that really means is that Bing, you're fully eligible to serve for any query that your keyword would match you to. If you have a poor score, you may find that there's some auctions we may be holding you out of because whatever the query may be is just not relevant to your landing experience. And so when you're looking at this, some of the things to look at are things like which negative keywords do I need to add to pull myself off of those certain queries, but also what does the ad copy say and how relevant is that to my landing experience. When we first launched Quality Score, we actually had quite a few advertisers who dug into landing page relevance and started working with their landing pages, landing their searchers closer to the product they were looking for. The classic example I like to use is a florist who has, is bidding on the term red roses, but then just lands the searcher on their home page, which includes all kinds of gift baskets and other delivery gifts, and then they have to go search again for red roses. So the thing here is that when the advertiser switched over their landing page to be a page that was just about their selection of roses, they found that not only did their quality score increase, because we're saying that the correlation between your keyword and your landing page is greater, but also that their conversion rate spiked a lot because they found that now I'm landing the user directly where they're going to complete the purchase. So a lot of this is basic PPC best practices, but this will help you zero in on where that is really a problem for you and could help your overall performance. The final piece I'll mention is keyword relevance, and that has a possible score of poor, no problem, and good. Now, if you have the basics done, you can get to about a quality score of 6. That's kind of the quality score neutral. If you're below 6, there's probably something that's sort of holding you back from reaching your maximum potential. Now, with keyword relevance, that's really a measure of click-through rate. And click-through rate is probably the most direct way we can tell whether searchers like your ad. And this is a click-through rate that is normalized for position, because obviously higher positions on the page get more clicks than the lower positions. So we normalize that out and we say, all things being equal, how clickable is this ad versus another ad competing for the same keyword or the same auction. And if you have a good score here, you're likely to have a quality score in the 7 to 10 range, which really means that you have some of the best CTR in the marketplace and you may have a real competitive edge. So if you're not ranking really high on your keyword, you can go ahead and throttle up that bid and know that you're going to pay a really good, a really fair CPC relative to the rest of the marketplace who may not be enjoying as high of a quality score as you. Now, I want to be clear.
I really like this, Paul. I think this is really cool. Sorry to interrupt, but like,
oh, no problem.
The normalization, for position is cool because a lot of people, especially where Google obfuscates a lot of this, and you can't really drill into what might be driving your high or low quality score. You guys give this good information. You normalize a lot of it, so you can work on each piece as opposed to, I see a lot of people that just tend to try to buy their way out of poor quality score on Google, assuming if I pay enough, I get good position, the position will drive up click-through rate. It's a technique that does work, but it keeps you from actually being a better practitioner and making the right changes to the site for overall better performance.
And I think that you'll see, Matt, as we go through these slides, a sort of drumbeat of that same concept, which is that Bing provides really actionable data throughout all of their reporting. They allow you to sort of see what you want to improve, and they really give you a lot more visibility into what you actually can improve, rather than making it this giant mystery like Google does.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and just to put a final note on that, that's a great point you brought up around the differences. Our quality score is designed not to look at bid at all, and it's really designed to be a optimization guide of how much room do you have to improve to be the best in the marketplace. So definitely something we think is a different take. It's not a tool for punishing or promoting anybody. It's a tool to help you know what's your best route to the best performance you can get from our marketplace.
Great. So everyone, just as a reminder, Paul is saying a lot of really, really interesting things right now. If you tweet them out using the hashtag, which Alex will share in the chat in just a moment, I believe it is Trada Bing, share some of the things that Paul is talking about today, and you can even @reply him. His Twitter handle is Cork, C0RK, and I'm sure he'd love to be able to check his Twitter feed later and see all the things that everybody liked the most out of this discussion. So before we move to the next slide, I want to remind everyone that Bing's quality score is aggregated at lots of different levels, more levels than Google allows you to aggregate it at. So it means that when you go and compare quality score data against some of these other reports, like the one we're going to talk about right now, you are able to understand the comparison of quality score against some of these other reports without having to do any ninja work like you sometimes have to do in AdWords. So, Cork, I'd love to talk a little bit about share of voice, which is in some ways something that you could compare to Google's impression share, but as Paul will explain, it does work in a few different ways.
Yeah, so we have this new, so taking a step back, last year we sort of came up with this, we need to give advertisers a greater set of metrics to do better, their best work, basically, to maximize the yield they're getting from our network. And share of voice is one of the things we heard loud and clear that advertisers wanted to be able to know that they were extracting as much volume as possible from Bing. And so the share of voice report includes a number of fields to help you zero in on what the severity of the impact is of certain facets. So you'll see here an example of such as some of the fields that are included in share of voice and some of the actions you can take from them. So the first one being budget. This is sort of obvious, but if you're operating with a constrained budget, we will hold you out of certain auctions to try to conserve some of your budget for other parts of the day. And so the obvious action here is if you're losing 8% of your impression volume to budget, you can increase your budget, gain that back. Now I'm going to skip over rank really quick and talk a little bit about bid, landing page, and keyword relevance. Bid is basically any case where you're not getting an ad displayed because your bid is insufficient. So if that number is high, you sort of know what is required. Now, what I'll talk about here in landing page and keyword relevance, these are elements of our quality score. So if you're getting very little filtration due to bid, but you're getting high levels of filtration for landing page relevance and keyword relevance, you may find that it's a better idea to optimize those non-bid variables like ad copy, negative keywords, things like that, so that when you go to make that bid up, you can you won't be held back by some of these other factors. And so obviously with keyword relevance, it means you have a CTR problem, or you're not winning an auction because your CTR doesn't measure up well to somebody else. And so you can go ahead and address things like ad copy, negative keywords, or maybe even your account structure. Find a better way to structure your keywords to deliver searches to more relevant pages. And then
so
rank
the idea
is
here
fine.
is,
yeah, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So the idea here is this gives you the opportunity, before you even increase your bid, to give yourself the best possible, campaign structure and keyword relevance and everything before you increase your bid, so that you have the best chance. Is that your suggestion?
Yeah, exactly. So if you have a really high level of filtration for landing page and keyword relevance, and not a lot for bid, that means your problem does not, you could try to bid your way out of it, but it would be a very expensive proposition. By contrast, if your landing page and keyword relevance filtration is very low, but your bid filtration is very high, that means the only thing holding you back from more traffic is going to be that bid, and that those factors combine to really determine your rank. And so it's really a matter of which of those factors is creating that high rank score, so that bid or that CTR, and optimizing to get that just right before you bid up can be a great strategy for making sure that if you are going to go for those top positions, that you're getting them at a great price.
And we pulled something cool here called a bid recipe. These actually came from the same article, so they're very much aligned. Can you talk a little bit about the opportunities you can find with this Share of Voice report?
Yeah, so this is just something that one of my peers, John Gagnon, wrote for Search Engine Watch, particularly looking at how we could use the Share of Voice report to take specific rule-based actions. So obviously you heard a little bit of this from me. So if you have profitable keywords that are losing traffic due to budget, increase your budget. But now we can actually mash up some of the elements of the Share of Voice report with our quality score, meaning that if you are losing things to rank, meaning you have a ranking problem, but your quality score is 8, 9, or 10, well, that means that you have that situation where the only thing holding you back is your bid. So you have a great quality score, you have a great set of ads, we really like you, go get those great positions and increase your volume using your bid. Now if you're losing a lot to bid, obviously you may be seeing that you're not currently high enough on the page, or you're not bid adequately enough to get an ad display on the first page, and so that's obviously a reason you can go. So these are just some hard and fast rules you can apply to Share of Voice and combining it with Quality Score to really manage your account and sort of have a more systematic approach to keyword management on Bing.
And you guys do the Share of Voice all the way down at every level, right? You can see that at a keyword level, which is really interesting, because that's a really tough comparison to drill into. On Google, you can get impression share in some places and quality score in others, but never the two shall meet, where you can kind of figure out if it's really bid-driven quality score or if it's landing page or other quality score elements. So it's interesting to be able to take, again, you guys have been very explicit about extracting the bid portion, which I think really is helpful for marketers.
And I believe this shot actually shows the many opportunities that you have to look at Share of Voice at different levels.
Exactly. So yeah, one thing I failed to mention earlier is that when we did get the feedback that drove the creation of Share of Voice feature was that advertisers really needed this at a keyword level. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where all of their more frequent adjustments are coming. And so you'll see here in this view of our reporting tab that the Share of Voice report can be done at a keyword level, and you can also combine a number of other metrics, as well as one metric I failed to mention, which was click share, which shows you at least what proportion of the clicks you're capturing for every time that your ad is shown on the page, which is another great metric you won't find elsewhere. So more metrics to help you understand where you're missing out.
Awesome. So kind of moving along in the same vein of talking about giving you data that will allow you to understand how to make changes, this is a cool report. Quality Impact allows you to understand the impact you would have if you were to make changes before you make them. Is this correct, Paul?
Yeah. So go to your reporting tab. You run a keyword performance report. Everyone's got quality score issues somewhere in their account. Quality Impact is our way of T-shirt sizing which of those quality score issues you should address first for the maximum bang for the buck. As a 30% player in the market space, we know you're going to probably spend a lot of time on AdWords. We want you to maximize the time you're spending on Bing ads. And so for that, Quality Impact reporting attempts to tell you when you have a score of 3, that means that if you were to improve the quality score, you're going to get 500 or more additional impressions per day for improving that. So it lets you kind of say, if I'm going to spend only a certain amount of time working on non-bid-based optimization, here's where my time is best used on the system. And this is a really great time saver, and it's something that our competitor does not provide. And it's really in the interest of helping you maximize the effectiveness of the time you're spending with Bing Ads.
And where can you drill into this information in the Ad Center platform?
Yeah, this information is available in the Keyword Performance Report. There's a additional KPI metric that you just select that says quality impact. There you go.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yep. So this is sort of a screenshot showing our reporting interface. Shows you where you can find quality impact. There are additional metrics you can add into this report. You can control the level of aggregation, so if you are looking at some of those other metrics I mentioned and you want to see them at the ad group level, you can run the campaign or ad group report and add in things like quality score or share of voice to be able to really start big and kind of zero in to what you want to look at. And another report I'll mention that we added over the last several months is the top versus other reporting. And this is something I think folks are familiar with from the AdWords platform. Essentially, it compares what ads are appearing at the top of the page in that what we call the main line, which tend to get more clicks, that are more premium placement, and what are appearing on the right-hand side, or what some people call the east. And that's really interesting to be able to gauge what performance you're getting from where. But it's also important for one other specific reason that I'll mention, which is our ad formats. Bing Ads has, we're experimenting with a lot of new ad formats in the coming months, but two that are available right now are something called long ad title, which extends the length of the ad title to make it more appealing and clickable. And we generally see about a 7% higher click-through rate on that type of ad. And we also offer site link extensions, which you may be familiar with from AdWords, which allows you to place additional links into the ad, really taking over more real estate. And the reason I mention this in the context of top versus other is that those new ad units are currently only available in the main line of Bing Ads. You won't be able to get those on the sidebar. And so knowing which of your ads are appearing in the top may tell you which of your campaigns you should add site links to first in order to maximize the yield, which site links, by the way, we've seen as high as 25% CTR increase just from using site links. So if you're not using those new ad formats, definitely get on board. And if you need to be strategic about where to load them up, look at this top versus other report and really go after that low-hanging fruit.
And if you guys would like to see some of these new ad formats in action, Paul, what is the name of the consumer-facing sort of Bing versus Google test?
So we don't. That is an ad-free experience. Just to put. But we do have something called Bing It On, which is the Bing It On. Yes. And that's really our consumer play to try to grow our audience, to really show that when we strip away the branding and you just look at the results, what we find is that average users tend to prefer the results that Bing is giving them over what Google provides. And so if you go to bingiton.com, you can try the test for yourself. It's sort of reminiscent of the old Pepsi challenge, if you remember that, if you're old enough to remember that. And so it's a great way that we're sort of demonstrating the power of Bing and really trying to differentiate there.
And to be clear, did you just say that those are all organic, so they don't apply here?
Yeah, the goal, they don't.
Okay.
You would not see the ad experience in either one of those, since it is designed to be more of a fun gaming experience. We didn't want that to. Yeah, we didn't think that the ROI for that type of user would be great for our advertisers, so we don't have ads in that experience.
Okay, well, great, good point. Still kind of a fun game to play.
Absolutely.
So the next graph we're going to look at is something, Paul, that you added just within the last day, and I believe you told me that this is new. So can you explain how keyword distribution graphing can help us understand more about how to optimize our campaigns?
Yeah, just 1 second if I could jump back to the last slide real quick. There was one bullet I failed to mention, and that is that our quality score, we automatically offer you a historical view of your quality score over time. So in addition to having it at those granular levels and in those aggregations, we also will show you how the quality score changes over time, which is a great way to see, A, if the marketplace is changing and your quality is going down as a result of higher, more competitive, more relevant advertisers, Or if you're applying optimizations and you're improving your quality score over time, you can pull a report that shows you historical quality score and the movement of that metric over time. So it's a great way. I hear all the time about advertisers who were using AdWords who are downloading a quality score report every few days just so they can keep track of things and store them in a giant archive. We've got a giant archive of this for you, so you can look at that anytime you want. And that's another unique offer from Bing Ads there.
Oh, you'd save me about 1 million Excel spreadsheets.
I was nodding and smiling while you were saying that.
Fantastic. So yeah, we can switch gears into the keyword distribution graph and talk a little bit about that. This is a brand new feature, and where this came from, this has been in the works for over a year. I've been looking at mock-ups of this. This started from a conversation with some of our engineers where we basically said, you know, one of the biggest things that advertisers struggle with is we just want to come into our account, identify the things that are of issue or performing in a way that either we need to double down or behaving in a way where we need to throttle back. And we said, how can we help them find those needles in the haystack, if you will, in a really quick and to some extent fun manner. And obviously filtering is a great way to get there, but it's kind of more like if this or this and this is the condition. And keyword distribution graph is a actually patented way that we've come up with to help advertisers visualize where their keywords stack up. And so what you're seeing here is that the vertical axis represents the range of a specific KPI. In the case of the top left, you have average CPC. The width of the blue bars you're seeing represents the number of keywords that exist at any one position on that vertical chart. And so what this allows you to do is really visually filter your keywords to find what's important. And so in the chart below it, what I've done is I've filtered down to find 15 keywords which are not delivering great value for me. And so what I've done is select that upper third of my average CPC chart to say, here are the most expensive keywords that I'm currently buying. So I've selected that, and then what I've done on the far right-hand side is I've selected keywords at the bottom that say where conversions equals 0. And so now in this case, now what you found is these are the most expensive keywords that have delivered no conversions over this period of time. And it's really easy with these charts to really understand where the torso and the tail and the high and the low are. So this is a really kind of a unique way, a unique take on filtering. And if I had a live demo to show you of this in the UI, which you guys should all be seeing really soon, is you can actually hover over these little bars and it'll tell you exactly how many keywords exist. And if you click on them, below it, what you're seeing at the bottom of the screen capture is that the grid of keywords that those pertain to all appear below the line there. So if we filter down to 15 keywords, just those 15 keywords are going to show in the grid. It's a great way to be able to just quickly adjust the bid on those 15 keywords, maybe down to try to control some costs, and then move on to the next bucket of keywords that are important to you. Maybe high converters with a low position. You want to bid those up to try to maximize the conversion from those really high-performing keywords that are doing it in the low position. So really fun, cool new way to look at data.
Really cool.
Yeah, and such a cool thing. I love the fun visual because you do get a sense of it really quickly just from a scan, but it's also just immediately actionable, which is cool. I mean, like, great to identify those, but you want to, bid those down or in some cases remove them pretty quickly.
And we're also busy that we're not always pulling these reports and looking for these things. So having this at a glance is just really.
Yeah.
I didn't actually really completely know what this was because we put this slide in yesterday, and now I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, really.
Brand new. So yeah, it's being rolled out gradually. So some people may see this already in their accounts, but hopefully by the end of the month, everyone will have this view.
Great.
The future presented by Bing.
I know. So kind of along the same lines of understanding which keywords can get you the most impact, let's talk about a few different types of keyword recommendation tools. So we have some that are sort of smart, meaning that when you log in, they're giving you some advice about ways that you can move the needle right away. We have some on-demand keyword tools, and then we have some cool graphs that will show you how your keyword changes affect your performance over time. So Paul, I'd love to have you walk us through these keyword tools that are designed to make us more successful.
Sure. So one of the things I worked on in the last year with the team was about how can we provide better insights and proactive recommendations to our advertisers about how to grow their business on Bing. And so one way we've delivered that is in this interface you see on the top screenshot called Opportunities. And so what we do is crawl through accounts on Bing Ads looking for keywords that are, I call them like on the edge of greatness. That is to say there's something like a bid that's just a little too low that's holding them back from really driving amazing results for the advertiser. Now what we do is we populate an interface called the Opportunities experience, which includes things like new bids, also budget adjustments. So if you are having that, you're being held back by budgets, we'll let you know here's about what your campaign could spend if you wanted to increase it. And then we also go out and search for new keywords that are sort of looking for, here's keywords that you're not buying that are highly relevant to your business. So all of these are provided for you. So if you're really in your Bing Ads account and you're kind of like, well, I'm not really sure what to do, this is here for you to really look at what you could be doing to increase your volume. And so it's all self-selection. If you don't like the recommendations, they're not, you don't have to accept them. But it's just one way we're trying to make, I call it shovel-ready optimizations available to you. And so we try to find those keywords where you have a real big opportunity to grow your business and that already are driving good performance.
I love this idea of keywords that are on the cusp of greatness. Like they're just you only have to make one change and they could really have a big impact. So that's very cool.
An interesting fact about this is that we actually have rules that say if the quality score isn't adequate, we don't offer bid suggestions. So we're really looking for when you have that great quality score that lets us know you're really good, you're a good advertiser on this keyword. You're an asset to the marketplace. That's when we tell you. That's when we really start providing you bids because we say, look, you in a higher position are going to fetch a great rate and deliver a great experience to our searchers.
Yeah, it's like a partnership. Really cool.
There you go.
So there are also some on-demand ways to kind of understand different ways that keyword changes or changes in general can give you different types of success.
Yeah, so just highlighting that a lot of what goes into that experience I just showed you is the work we've done in the last year to try to really beef up our bid recommendation algorithm to provide better recommendations for how to achieve specific positions. So if you are working in the Keywords tab, potentially using that keyword, the visual filter to get there, distribution graph, you may say, oh, I need to bid these keywords up. We provide an estimation interface which allows you to say, what's the bid I need to achieve top of the page, what's the bid I need to achieve the first position, or what's the bid I need just to get myself on the first page where 90+% of all paid clicks are occurring. So use these as you need them to get a sense of where the marketplace stands. And we'll show some stuff towards the end of the presentation as well where you can go even deeper than this. But right in the tool, you can see these great metrics. So if you're not sure what to bid or you're not sure where to go with your bid, this is a great resource.
And I believe this is another new feature. This allows you to see a sort of change history.
Yes, this is not shipped yet, but we're talking about it, and it should be available in the next month or so, barring any major setbacks with the development work. So take that as you will. We're anxiously trying to bring this to market. What this is you may have seen the performance trend charts in Bing Ads already. It allow you to chart 5 different KPIs at once. So you have clicks, impressions, and all different other metrics, and you can hover over to see what they were at different points in time. What we heard from advertisers was, I don't know what's just the natural ebb and flow, and what things may have occurred as a result of my actions. And so what we've done is integrated the change history into those trend charts. So if you switch over to the change history view, you'll actually see your KPIs mapped, as well as these little dots along the line, which represent a point in time at which you made changes to the account. And so you can click on any of those points, and we'll load up all the changes that were made at that point in time. So this really gets into as me as an account manager, I was always hearing from advertisers going, hey, my performance went up or down or sideways at a certain point in time. And you'd always have that question of like, well, was it me or was it some other macro factor that impacted me. And so this is a really great way to understand how the actions you're taking are affecting your performance. And it's also a really easy to access. Change history has always been available, or for a long time at least, it's been available in our reporting tab. But this really brings it to the masses at a place where they really need it and a place where they can actually take actions based on what they're seeing in terms of the cause and effect of the performance in their account.
Super cool. So I want to show one more type of reporting that really shows how you can stack up against your competition, and this is just another example of Microsoft allowing you to have data that is designed to make you kind of understand how you can be successful pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is actually a new thing we shipped in the last couple months, and it's part of our opportunities experience that I mentioned earlier. I mentioned that in one of the other suggestions we supply, in addition to budget suggestions and bid suggestions, is keyword suggestions, where we look for keywords which you're not buying currently, but that we think are highly relevant to your business, and perhaps they're being purchased by other people competing for similar clicks as you. And so what we try to do is let you know where the competition is on these particular phrases. So obviously, keywords with low competition are going to have less advertisers competing for that traffic, so you may have a higher ability to achieve success with that type of a keyword than something with a high level of competition where you're going to be competing with a lot of advertisers all trying to show on the same terms. So this is just another way we're trying to give you additional metrics or additional data to help you make the smartest decision about how to grow your business in a really measured way.
And it looks like, Paul, our screens are smaller than our viewers' screens, but it looks like it also shows monthly search volume, which is something that's really interesting. When you're looking at competitive data, you may have really low competition on a keyword, but if the monthly search volume is too low for it to get you anything, then, why spend time on it? So it looks to me on this tiny little screen like it does also show search volume, which is an important metric to compare that competitive rating against.
Yeah, and this is a mock-up, so I wouldn't, just to be clear, I don't know that all these numbers are accurate because it is a mock-up. We can't obviously share live customer data, but it does have all the controls you'd expect, so you can filter to find just, maybe it's just keywords with more than 100 searches. If they don't have more than 100 searches, they may not be worth your time. You can filter and sort to really make sure that you can have 100 searches and low competition. That's what I'm interested in, and then you can go review that list really quickly, add them to your account, and be all set.
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start talking about Bing Ads Intelligence. So one of the things I like the most about Bing Ads Intelligence when we talked about it earlier, Paul, is how it really gives serious search nerds the ability to get extremely granular. So while you walk us through Bing Ads Intelligence, I would love it if you would talk about how sort of your regular average paid search professional can use it, and then all of the opportunities to excuse me, do things like plug into Excel and understand data through pivot tables and all kinds of crazy ways as well. So if you could kind of talk about it on both levels for both of those types of viewers, that would be great.
I'll try my best. Bing Ads Intelligence is really designed for a PPC geek. I mean, I go in this tool, I love all the data it can give me. So the way I break up the tool is into three kind of major areas of functionality. The first is functionality that helps you generate keywords. There's two kind of ways you can go about this. One is you can extract keywords from a web page. So this will go and crawl about up to 20 URLs and extract from that the keywords that it's finding. So it's a great way to do keyword building. The other ways you can generate keywords on slide 35 are you can actually feed this tool seed keywords, and then it will give you different versions. So one is we have a quick best of breed package, which is just give me the keywords, give me something that's relevant. Next, we can actually look at sub-phrases. So in this example, I have the keyword is toe sock. It's basically going to look for what are the most common queries that include the word toe and sock in the same thing. This is great for finding new keywords, but it's also great if you're looking for negatives. It's going to tell you this query occurs and it tends to include your keyword. So it's a great way to find that maybe if you don't sell gold toe brand toe socks, you may want to add gold as a negative keyword. Make sure you're not advertising on brands you don't provide. We also have on Bing something called related search. This is, if you've ever searched on, a lot of different search engines do this, where if you type in a search, we provide a list of what we think might be the next few searches to refine what you're looking for. And this actually gives you what Bing would recommend the next search be. So when you talk about owning that search funnel, it's really great. Switching gears a little bit, we also have once you generate those keywords, you can do great analysis of what those keywords look like in our marketplace. So on the left-hand side, you'll see I've pulled very quickly information about how many searches are occurring by device. So desktops and laptops, smartphones and tablets, I can actually see the breakdown. And it gives me the ability to do great views, such as see what those different proportion of traffic is. And I know a lot of advertisers and even agencies use this for proposal building. So if they're advertisers, we want to start on Bing. Well, here's what we can get from mobile from Bing, here's what we can get from tablet, and here's what we can get from desktops and laptops. We can also do things like tell you what category the keywords belong to, whether it's clothing, accessories, men's clothing, women's clothing. So it might help you if you're a large retailer, you have a lot of keywords, and you want to know how to kind of structure your account. It's a great way to do that, as well as tell you if there's any patterns to where people are searching for this, where you're going to get your traffic from. Obviously, that tends to be skewed a little bit by population, so you can see California, Texas, some of the larger states make up a larger percentage of where you're going to be garnering the searches. And then finally, we'll also tell you if there's a skew to the age and gender of the search. So toe socks, no surprise, are more commonly searched for by women. I don't think that's a surprise to me, but I did have a gentleman at one of the trade shows I presented this at indicate that, hey, no, I wear toe socks. So good for him. That's not, our data says that you're not looking for them as often as the ladies are. So just interesting data that may help you.
Toe socks for who.
That's true.
This is true. Gift giving is a big area.
Yeah.
So I really like this, with a lot of attention these days on, expanding mobile markets and focus on device type and, rapid response or responsive design websites and things like that. Like, this is a great way when you're doing your overall marketing plan to include some baseline data that, might make some critical marketing decisions that aren't just limited to your search campaign. How you want to set up your site. Where do you think your most valuable visitors are coming from? I really like this, and the fact that you can do it prior to a campaign launch is really awesome.
Yeah, and it's right in Excel, which is where we hear a lot of advertisers spending most of their time anyway. So this just functions as a toolbar. You get your data into Excel, and you just hit these buttons, and the data just comes streaming in from our keyword research archives. So it's really easy to sort of build a mashup of the data you like, and then replicate that mashup for any set of advertisers or keywords you might be going after.
Super cool. So for those of you who are concerned that we are running near the end of our time, we will stick around and answer your questions. Nat may have to leave, but we will get through the rest of the content as quickly but as completely as possible, but we will make sure to answer some of your questions. I just want to let everyone know. So Paul, let's talk about how to invest intelligently, and you have 2 slides here about it, so please let me know when we need to move to the next one.
Sure. I may even skip the next one. I think this one will allow me to talk about most of what I think is here. So
okay.
The thing that you really want to take away from this is the Bing Ads Intelligence tool allows you to take keywords and ask the system, how many paid clicks did this keyword get in the last month? How many impressions did it deliver? What was the average CPC paid? Not only by just the keyword on its own, but you can get that broken out by device type. So you can see what the price is on desktops, smartphones, tablets, and what volume is. You can see the impression share, click share there. You can also see things like what was the average bid on a desktop machine for the first position on Bing. That's the kind of granularity you can get to. You can go all the way down the page, sidebar, main line, even positions 1, 2, 3. So you can really see extreme detail about how the marketplace is performing, get a good sense of the competition, and know what you can expect in terms of what your average bid is likely to have to be in order to compete for the traffic that's available at those positions and on those match types. It's extremely powerful, and whenever I show this to folks, they're always just blown away. They're like, I didn't even know you could give me that data. So it's all here for the taking, and it's wonderful, wonderful data to know where you're entering the marketplace and how the marketplace is performing in aggregate.
Well, where do we find this data? Where do we find this Excel plugin?
Keywords.com.
That's
I like
very
saying that
helpful.
because I didn't know we owned keywords. I didn't know we owned keywords.com, and someone came to us and said, keywords.com, and I went, we own that? Let's send it here. So keywords.com, you can download the tool and install it into your Excel.
That's a valuable domain. You should hang on to that.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're getting rid of it anytime soon.
All right, great. Well, we've had a number of people asking in the chat, so it seems like they're enthusiastic about using this tool.
Yep.
So I'm going to move quickly about how to talk to your team about Bing. Again, we are starting here with the assumption that most of you are probably already running Bing as part of your overall search strategy. But if there's any need to kind of get some buy-in from your team, here are some pretty, sort of a wrap-up of some compelling stats. If you are not on Bing, there are 51 million people out there who just aren't seeing your ads. They do tend to have a 20% higher spend, cart size, completed cart size. There are a lot of verticals that Bing really performs well in. Some of them are retail and business and finance, but the list goes on. It was not something that I felt like I needed to include an entire list of. And then again, click prices are often much cheaper, meaning that you can get conversions for less. So if you need some help kind of getting some buy-in from your team, it's worth telling them that, as Paul mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, if someone came up to you and said, I can get 30% more reach or get you 30% more conversions, very few people would say no to that. It's really easy if you are not already running Bing to import your AdWords data. You don't have to completely start over. And it is my understanding that Bing is releasing a plan very soon to work with Google's new enhanced campaigns. So it's not something that you should need to worry about. If you do import an enhanced campaign into Bing right now, Paul does suggest that you just kind of check your data a little bit. Paul, what were your suggestions about making sure that everything has worked correctly?
Yeah, this is provided to really save advertisers a lot of time. There are obviously deltas between how Google does things and how we do things that have always existed, and now with enhanced campaigns, those deltas get a little bit bigger. We're working very hard to close the gap ahead of or in line with Google's intended mandate of all enhanced campaigns in July. So when you do import things into Bing Ads, do take the time to just double check to make sure that the targeting and the settings that you have are congruent with what you had there. There may be some things that didn't quite translate exactly as wanted. We try to do our best to make sure we preserve everything, but just for your own peace of mind, you might want to take a little bit of time just to double check and make sure everything came over the way you'd like. Obviously in the future we're trying to maintain keep that delta as small as possible, and there will be some enhancements we're making to our product to offer things that are analogous with enhanced campaigns that will allow those things to work more seamlessly. But just to state clearly, we're not going to the same model as only enhanced campaigns. We may be adding things that are more like enhanced campaigns that if you choose to use them, you can, but we're not going to take away the control and the granularity that we know our advertisers enjoy today.
Great. Thanks, Paul. So I'm going to quickly jump through a few slides that will help you understand how Trada and Bing work together, and then we will get to all of your questions. And I do apologize for going over a little bit. If anyone needs to get back to work and leave, we will be sending out a recording, so you'll be able to listen to the last part of the webinar. But we'll try and wrap up in the next few minutes here. So if you're looking for a little more basic help or help at basically all levels about paid search advertising in general, monitoring your budget split across Google and Bing, and all things digital marketing, you can check out all of our free resources at trada.com/blog, trada.com/resources, and youtube.com/tradainc. Hundreds of free resources available to you. You don't have to give us anything for them. And many of them are of the caliber of this webinar, so please go check them out. So I want to talk a little bit about what most of you are out there doing for paid search. We learned in the survey that we did at the beginning of the call that most of you are doing paid search in-house or working with an agency. And in this sort of ideal scenario, you could have a tool for your agency or in-house team, and we'd like to talk a little bit about how Trada solves that problem. One of the best things about working with Trada is that you can run in Google and Bing without having to understand these complex differences between them, our Trada experts know how to run Bing campaigns, and they work all within the Trada platform. So just briefly, the way it works, Trada is the world's only performance-based online advertising marketplace. When you join, we assign a team of experts to do the work on your behalf. They come from a global community of certified paid search experts who are all certified within the Trada system. They do the work on your behalf, and they're paid based on their performance. So you do, the work of sort of helping us to understand your business as well as we can. We put together a sort of creative brief, and then your optimizer team goes out and does all of the work. You also have a dedicated account manager who works as a strategic partner and who really helps you drive, understand strategy, works between you and the optimizers. And again, they do all of the work. And we have this great goal alignment. So the people doing the work are directly motivated to beat your CPA goals, and when they do, they are paid. It's a pay-for-performance model, truly a pay-for-performance model, and it's really probably different from anything that you've worked with before. Our customers tend to be mid-market customers, meaning that we do have a budget minimum of $5,000. Our average customers probably spend around, somewhere from $15,000 to $50,000 a month in paid search. So that's kind of the space that we generally tend to work in. If you want to learn more a little bit about Trada Works, please go ahead and type "I'd like a demo" into the chat box, and Alex will take care of setting that up for you. So I know I sort of sped through this last part, but I want to make sure that we get to as many questions as we can. I know that Matt has a meeting, so he may split in just a couple of minutes here. But Paul, I have a couple of questions for you. One of them from Amy is, will Bing offer product listing ads in the future?
We are working on a product listing ads product at the moment. We are running an extremely small pilot, and we are trying our best to get it out as soon as possible. But I cannot give you, unfortunately, a launch date on that because we are still resolving some deployment issues and bugs to make sure that the product we bring to market is as high quality as it needs to be. So soon, but no date specifically.
Okay, great. Good to know. Larry wants to know, in terms of your demographics, what's the sort of split between B2B and B2C, or is it? Do you have any data on that?
We have some great data that's available on our blog, and I believe it was also blogged over at Search Engine Watch about the different industry verticals and how much. So you saw like an aggregate percentage of what portion of our audience we have that is exclusive to Bing. What we've also done is an analysis of the types of searches that those people are doing. So we actually have more share when it comes to things like financial services and other things that may be more B2B than B2C. So I recommend going over and looking for any article published by John Gagnon, Gagnon. He's one of our evangelists, and there's some great data about our audience and how they fall into specific subverticals and where Bing may actually have an edge over what you might think from Google.
I do see a lot of content from John Gagnon on the web. He publishes a prolific amount of really fascinating and interesting actionable PPC content. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this next question. To work with Trada, do I have to put a specific amount of budget towards Bing? The answer is no. We work with customers who run only on AdWords. We work with customers who work only on Bing. If you haven't run on Bing in the past, we often do suggest, depending on your situation, that you try Bing, given that there's often a good opportunity to get some cheaper conversions and to get some additional volume there. The way our budget split algorithm works is that we start with a split that seems to sort of make sense based on research that we do. It's often a 70-30 split, which makes sense with the sort of overall idea that Bing makes up about 30% of the search share. And then we do allocate it dynamically depending on where we can get you the most volume and the lowest conversions. So that happens about every 2 weeks. It's something that we revisit constantly because the market is constantly changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really critical for people that don't know. We start with some market share analysis and really set your campaigns up according to where is the market, and then we look at the performance data and kind of adjust accordingly. So we can represent just somebody's Bing campaign, just somebody's Google, as Anna said. But if you really don't know, or you've got a feeling but you want to test and put some data around it, Trada's a really cool platform to be able to do that.
So I'm going to take one more question with the idea that we are going quite a bit over our time. But if we didn't get to your question, please go ahead and reach out to me personally. You can email me at anna@trada.com. I will make sure that your question gets to the right person, whether it's Paul or Matt or myself or someone from our marketplace expert team. I will make sure that you get your question answered. So if we haven't gotten to your question today, please feel free to reach out. So this last one I do want to send over to Paul, and this is about the keyword opportunities reporting. He says, are the increases in clicks and spend figures daily or monthly, or is there the ability to really drill down and see those in different ways?
I believe they're I think, if memory serves, I believe they're 7-day estimates, and they're for our owned and operated network, not for our publisher partner network.
Okay, and this is sort of like a 7-day rolling opportunity?
That's correct. At the time at which they're generated, it's for based on the previous 7 days. This is what you would have gotten if you had been bid at this amount during the previous 7 days.
Okay.
So we use the past to inform the future, as it were.
All right.
And if you're uncertain, just to be clear, if you're uncertain at any point, if you're looking at the UI, there should be a timestamp tag that tells you the range of the data you're looking at, and next to one of the grid.
Great, very helpful. Well, Paul, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. One of the things I'm extremely excited about is the fact that you showed us a few things that are brand new and haven't even been released yet. So I feel very honored. I'm sure our listeners feel the same. And it's such a pleasure to have someone who's so incredibly knowledgeable, not only about how the product works, but about how to make Bing users successful. And I love that so many of these tools are designed to just give people what they need to really be empowered to be as successful as possible. So I've learned a lot, through this experience, and it's been such a pleasure. So everyone, Paul Corkery, thank you so much. Please tweet at him at Cork, C-O-R-K, and let him know, how you felt about the webinar. Just a few closing thoughts. Matt Hessler has left the room, so thank you to him as well. We will be sending out a recording and the slides, so look for that follow-up email, and we hope to see you on our next webinar. Everyone, thank you so much. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
This is the end of the webinar.